That'll take us to roll call, please.
Commissioner Brems.
Here.
Commissioner Robertson.
Here.
Vice Chair Juarez. Chair Singleton.
Here.
Commissioner Yoakum.
Here.
Commissioner Klob.
Here.
And Commissioner Thomas. We have a quorum.
Thank you. That will take us to the call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a speaker card and submit it to the chairman prior to the start of the meeting. The procedures to follow if you address the commission are: commission requests that you express your ideas in 3 minutes or less and refrain from any personal attacks or derogatory statement about any city employee, a fellow citizen, or anyone else, whether in the audience or not. The chairman will limit discussion, whatever he deems such an action appropriate, to the proper conduct of the meeting. I don't have any speaker cards. Would anybody like to come talk? Seeing none, I will close the call to the public. That'll take us to agenda item 4.1, minutes. Commissioners, any questions, comments about the minutes?
I move that we approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Vice Chair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. That takes us to regular agenda item 5.1, SUB 24-07, a request by CVL Consultants on behalf of Maricopa Hartman LLLP requesting approval of the Sanctuary Phase 1 subdivision preliminary plat to accommodate 339 single-family homes on approximately 83.02 gross acres. The property is generally located at the northeast corner of West Maricopa Casa Grande Highway and North Hartman Road. This is for discussion and action. Take it away, Derek.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the Commission. Derek Shearer here with the Development Services Department Planning Division, here to present Subdivision Preliminary Plat SUB 24-07. If the Commission can recall, and for the public, this item was heard at the previous Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on Tuesday, June 17th, where it was continued to get more discussion involved with the city engineer and access to the proposed subdivision. I will just quickly go through the previous presentation just to bring it fresh to everybody's mind before I turn it over to our city engineer to address the comments and concerns from the Commission. Preliminary Plat 24-07 is an application by CVL Consultants on behalf of Maricopa Hartman LLP for approximately 83 gross acres of land that is proposed to be subdivided into 153 40 by 120 square foot lots, 99 45 by 120 foot, and 87 50 by 120 foot. As we can see here, with the development standards proposed in the Sanctuary PAD and the preliminary plat, outlined in yellow, you'll see the Phase 1 area, which is what this preliminary plat is addressing. Overall, the full development of the site will have 1,191 single-family units. We can see here the landscape and open space plan of the Phase 1 area, where you can see the proposed subdivision is bisected by Collector Road, West Lulu Jane Drive, north and south. We have the main amenity park that's being built in this Phase 1. Here we see the landscape plans and the park planning for it. As we discussed previously, there's a number of pocket parks throughout the subdivision with the main amenity park. As we can see here, the access and circulation, this was an area of concern for the Commission and wanted some discussion with the city engineer as to how this would work with that main access coming off of, on the left-hand side of the image there, of Hartman Road, bisecting the Phase 1, and then heading southward, you can see where it says an all-weather emergency access until permanent development of the Phase 2 area, which is the remaining portions of this outside of the dashed yellow lines. The Commission had concerns and questions about this all-weather emergency access road. As previously noted, the proposed development is consistent with the general plan and the conformance with the sanctuary planned area developments and the zoning ordinance. Staff is recommending that the commission move for approval of the Sanctuary Phase 1 preliminary plat, subdivision case number SUB 24-07, subject to the conditions of approval stated in the staff report and/or as amended by the commission. And I have the city engineer here to answer any specific transportation questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Derek. Commissioners, any questions?
Chair Singleton, Commissioners, I understand you had some questions regarding the all-weather emergency access proposed for this subdivision.
Okay. Chair Robertson.
This was continued last time due to questions about the access road, the all-weather emergency road. And it was generally requested if there's a possibility for the road to be completed as part of Phase 1, because Phase 1 may develop and have occupants, residents living in it before the other phases complete, and you don't have the secondary access. So that was kind of the premise, I think, that I took away from when we tabled it, that we wanted a little bit more information about the possibility of that road being part of Phase 1, so that there, as people start to move into that development, that there is physically a second means of ingress and egress for them as residents. I think we understand that the amount of homes that are going to be in Phase 1 is probably below the number that may require a full-time second access, but we did throw that out there, and that was probably the main reason we had continued that. So just throwing it out there, that was the reason we continued it, and we're anxious to hear if there's any changes along that way. And I don't really have a question, just a statement.
As you're aware, the prices of homes have skyrocketed in the last 5 to 10 years. So developers, along with the city, are trying to find ways to reduce those costs. This road, for example, can be, for a while, just a road access that is for emergency only. And with that amount, we are talking about that the current residents will not be paying for a road that they don't actually need for a long time, because we don't have enough rooftops already built there. We're talking about not only building the road, there's an irrigation canal along the Castrani Highway. And the rule of thumb is that if you touch any of that easement, you have to underground the whole area, which is half a mile. And then incurring cost is around $3.5 million a mile. So this will be around 1.8 million just to underground that, and you still don't have any improvements there. Additional, the road, it should be around $2 million. And divided by the 300 something lots, then you're going to be talking about $12,000 to $10,000 per rooftop for that road. In addition to that, we still don't have a good understanding of how the east-west corridor will be in that section. This is still in the works. We're moving forward at 60% to 90% plans in the next 4 to 5 months. Once we have that, we will have a better understanding how this road will interact with the future of the east-west corridor. So the city has done this a couple of times. One is in Sorrento. We built a road there that is functions as a secondary access until all the improvements are made. It's pretty standard that if we don't have the rooftops that we need to build a collector, then and we have the possibility to keep it as an emergency access, then we do it so that the homes at the end are more affordable.
Okay. I really don't have a follow-up. The developer understands that it may be a couple $1 million to take care of the irrigation ditch problem now, and it's going to be double or triple that when they get to Phase 2, 3, and 4. It's going to be cheaper for them to do it now. They're going to have to do it anyway. But I understand that's, it's getting into the weeds. I get that. I don't have any further comment. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Clubb.
Through the chair, thank you. Eduardo, thanks for your comments on that, and I understand where they're coming from. I think the challenge that I run into is twofold. One, I had some large, last week in Washington, D.C., the National Association of Home Builders had their spring conference. A lot of builders got together talking to legislators, senators, so on. And in the meetings that happened, as early as last week, a lot of builders are pushing back with fears of a recession coming. Our community knows better than most what can happen in a recession. So my concern with this is, number one, is a safety issue. But number two is we're closer now than we probably have been in 15 years to another recession, and maybe even more so than COVID with some of the things that have happened. And with the builder or an arbitrary LLC that's in charge of this temporary road, that, if we do go into a recession, they walk away, it becomes a zombie development like so many occurred, in 2008, 9, and 10. Now these people, these 339 homes, have no access. The city has no way to force the issue to create a safety access for it because it's owned and maintained and operated by the builder. It's not maintained by the city. We lose any control that we have. And then theoretically, it could come back to the city as an expense to provide this access. You and I have, on other projects, have gone around regarding, traffic safety and want to be prudent with the safety. I look at some of the challenges just when we built the bridge on Porter and some of the challenges that occurred, in Santa Rosa Springs. With, their single access, a train would come, they couldn't go south because the bridge was being built, they couldn't go north because the train was there, and these people were just stuck. We have an accident, we have a main water line break on Hartman Road. How do these people get to work? How do they, yes, it's only 339 homes, but there's no way around it. And I think that's a question that the builder needs to, maybe it doesn't have to come all the way out to Cass Grand Highway. Maybe there's a way to create a secondary access point, through the mixed use development that they can, but there is a second point in here somewhere that they can create now that wouldn't be so, expensive, but it also wouldn't landlock these people should, something happen on that one intersection. Open your thoughts.
Your concerns. One example of a community that had to live with a recession without a secondary access that is paved and fully developed is Tortosa North. And so far, they didn't have many problems. Like, I cannot go to my house because there's an accident on that road. We measure risks, and we have learned our lessons. And one of the things that we're doing with this road is that we're not putting it on the builder, we're putting it on the HOA, which is the homeowners association that will have to maintain that one, not the builder. Because like you said, builders can walk away to look for greener pastures. But this one is going to be on the HOA. So that's one of our ways to make sure that the road is going to be maintained. If the HOA doesn't do it, then we have mechanism to step in and give maintenance to the road, and of course charge the HOA for that amount.
Quick one on the HOA comment. So is the builder going to turn it over to the HOA immediately upon development? Because usually they don't turn it over until it's built out.
No.
And oftentimes it's the entire master plan is built out before they turn it over.
Now, the builder is part of the HOA, it's not the HOA itself. When the builder turns to the HOA, then that's when all the home residents do get their commissioners and the administration all themselves. But on this one, the HOA is not just the builder, it's also the owners of each of the homes.
Commissioner Yocum.
I share the same concern that Commissioners Robertson and Club have brought up, and that is that we have the one-way in and out, we have the emergency situation, and we have, over $2 million to do something or another. I think there's got to be a better way, and I'd like to see it presented.
And you can see, just like Tortosa North, we have access from the north and we have access from the south to Harmon Road. And we have the secondary access just in emergency. And if we need to use it, then we'll use it one day. But is it going to happen every month? Likely no. We might use that road once every 2 or 3 years. We have secondary access all around the city that we have never used in 5 years. We're not going to have perfection. However, if we wait for perfection, then there's not going to be any progress.
Vice Chair.
Eduardo, thank you very much for your presentation. For myself, I think your presentation makes everything relatively clear. They do have a primary access and they do have a secondary emergency access. And I think that's fine for right now. And as you mentioned, we have used that type of strategy in other projects. And if it works in other projects, I don't see any reason why it cannot work here. And then if we're talking about ownership with the HOA, the way I understand it is initially the builder is the HOA till it gets built out. And then they transfer ownership of that HOA to the number of people that are in that neighborhood. So whoever is going to end up with it is going to be responsible for any maintenance or anything else that comes along. So I think at this point, I don't think we have to keep putting things off because of fear of something that may happen. We have to deal with the reality of what we have today and hope for the best of what comes based on our plans for tomorrow. And so I think what you've said is very clear, and I don't have any problem with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my main concerns or questions that I had was what are the number of homes that has to be in a certain phase before that gets fully built out? And then the second one was what happens if a builder does walk away? And so you've kind of answered the second one where it goes on to the HOA, and if the HOA doesn't maintain it, there are mechanisms in place for the city to step in, unfortunately to taxpayers' expense, but it is what it is, as long as it's still getting taken care of, right? But yeah, my first question is, I was kind of curious on what is the typical number, or is it a percentage before there's a requirement for a fully paved 2 points of entrance and exit?
For code, you don't need a fully paid for emergency access. The fire code just allows you to use decomposed granite, compacted road that can withstand 75,000 pounds, and that's what the code allows. So legally they can do it. How many homes? There's no magic number. However, the rule of thumb is you have to have at least one side of the parcels next to the collector road that it doesn't make it cost prohibitive to build a collector road for nothing.
Thank you. Commissioner Robertson.
I think it's doable. I think there's some answers here. Typically, emergency access around town, it says fire access. This can't be designated only by fire, and they can't have the only key. The examples that Commissioner Klob gave us, that a water main break, a gas leak, or something out there on Hartman, somebody needs to be in charge to be able to open that gate for that purpose. It may not be a fire in the community, it may not be for the fire department to get in, but for the people to get to work. So I think through policy with the city and a good understanding, it'd be acceptable to me that we make sure that we have some clear policy that gets that gate open, whoever the key holders are, and that it be more than just the fire department, the police commander or whatever policy might be looked at. I think that could be worked out.
Commissioners, any other comments on this side? Seeing none, I will take a motion for 5.1.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve by Vice Chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Robertson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye. Opposed?
Roll call, please. Can I have a roll call on that?
Commissioner Brems.
Against.
Commissioner Robertson.
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez.
Aye.
Chair Singleton.
Aye.
Commissioner Yocum.
No.
And Commissioner Klob.
No.
We have a quorum.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, the vote was 3-3, so that motion didn't pass. You can have further discussion, entertain another motion. I would like to just point out that the applicant has met the technical requirements of the code with 2 points of access. But if you would like to discuss further, if you want to entertain another motion.
Commissioners, any comments? Or I will entertain another motion if there is one.
Can we discuss a potential stipulation of a secondary access as part of this phase one onto Hartman Road in lieu of the all-weather emergency access?
Chair Singleton, Commissioner Klob, if you would like to discuss that type of stipulation, I'd request that we did that in executive session.
Okay.
If you'd like to, motion second and a vote for that as well.
All right, I have a motion to go into E session. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, we will adjourn for E session. All right. The first order of business, I will entertain a motion to exit E-session.
So moved.
Okay. I have a motion. I have a second. I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. I will now call this meeting back to order on SUB 24-07. Commissioners, any questions, comments before I entertain a motion? No?
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Robertson. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second by Vice Chair. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion passes. And Derek, before we move on to 5.2, Rick, if I may, would like to ask staff to kind of look into what other cities do in regards to secondary access, and kind of report back on that. What's a good time frame for you? August, September? I don't know what your agenda looks like.
Chairman, let me pull up a calendar here real quick. So, Chairman, we're going to have two meetings in August. The 11th, actually only be one meeting in August, which would be August 11th. I think that's plenty of time for me to get back with a little research for the commission. I'll be happy to do that.
Awesome, thank you. All right, that will take us to item 5.2, GPA 24-03. This is a public hearing. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall discuss and take action on a request for a minor general plan amendment on approximately 9 acres, effectively changing the future land use designation from commercial to master plan community. The site is generally located at the southeast corner of West Steen Road and North Anderson Road. This is for discussion and action. Take it away, Derek.
Thank you, Chairman Singleton, members of the Commission. Derek Sher again with Planning Division. Here to present Hartman Ranch, a minor general plan amendment and a planned area development major amendment, GPA case number GPA 23-07 and PAD 23-07. This is an application by CBL Consultants on behalf of Cole Maricopa 193 LLC for a property located at the southeast corner of West Steen Road and North Anderson Road, as you see on the site map above. The project area is approximately 193 acres, and that's where the PAD minor amendment major amendment will be applied, and approximately 9 acres when the general plan amendment will be involved. This is a request again for a major amendment to the Hartman Ranch planned area development for 193 acres, and a minor general plan amendment for 9 acres. As we can see here, I have examples of the current general plan future land use map on the left and the proposed. Although difficult to tell, if you can see in that bottom left-hand corner of the Tetra symbol, you'll see that on the left-hand side, it is red for commercial. On the right-hand side, it is that beigey color for master plan community. The applicant is proposing to change that future general plan, future land use map designation from commercial to a master plan community for that 9 acres. For the zoning maps, a little bit of history. This PAD was originally entitled back before the city's new zoning ordinance. So this is a legacy zoning from Pinal County. And the way it was done before, you had a base zone. In this case, it was CR3 single family residential with a planned area development overlay on top of it. With the new zoning ordinance that was adopted in the late 2010s, the city moved away from PADs as an overlay, but as an actual zoning district. So a PAD district is its own zoning. It has its own set of requirements and development standards, which we've presented to the commission before. So this is moving all of that from PAD CR3 to just PAD for the 93 acres. The proposed PAD is closely going to follow our RS5 single-family residential zones with some amendments. Here, and I apologize, I have a typo at the top that I am embarrassed to point out, but I have to. This is not the Stonegate development, this is a Hartman Ranch development. I reused a slide, I didn't correct that, my apologies. But here we have a conceptual land use plan for the development. Sorry, it's sort of tilted to the side. North is to your left. So if you flipped it over to the right 90 degrees, it would go north and south, just like the site plan on the first slide. You can see we have parcels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The remainder, where it says NAP, that is a Hartman Ranch that is being retained by the Hartman family. That's still under the old Hartman Ranch PAD, so it's following that legacy PAD zoning, while this 193 acres where you see the parcels will be the new PAD, this area. In the Hartman Ranch, again, as I said, the base zone previously was a CR3. Now we're moving into the RS5. The development standards for this, the applicant has included in their narrative and booklet, will have the RS5 single-family district with lots ranging from 40, 45, 50, 55 feet in width, and lot sizes from 4,000 to 4,800 to 5,500 to 6,000 square feet. We also have provisions in there for alternative single-family housing design that we've previously discussed, whether it be Z-lot or auto court. We don't know exactly what all of the parcels will develop as it's a conceptual land use plan at this point, but what we did make the applicants include is that should a developer come in and want to do any sort of condo planting, any auto courts, or any alternative housing beyond our regular rectangular 50 by 120 foot lots, the development standards are there for them to follow. The proposed general plan future land use destination for master plan community is consistent with the proposed Hartman Ranch PAD zoning, with the use of the RS5 single-family residential zone as a basis for the site. The general plan objectives, I have 2 listed in the applicant's narrative. They list about 8, 9 different objectives and goals that are met by this potential rezone from our general plan. The proposed zoning change with the PAD would be in conformance with our Section 18 of the zoning ordinance and the PAD should the commission vote affirmative for the minor general plan amendment. Public outreach, May 28th, newspaper notice was published. May 20th, again, the notification letters were sent to property owners within 600 feet of the site. On May 21st, the site was posted. On May 6th, the neighborhood meeting was held, and we have today with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Prior to today's meeting, at approximately 5 p.m., staff received a letter of opposition from a neighboring property owner. I have included a memo and a copy of that letter of opposition in the packet to the commission handed out just before this meeting started. The applicant and the owner have been talking with the opposition this whole time. I believe the issues have been resolved, but we have the applicant and the owner here who can address any questions that you may have, any details about the specifics of the application, or with the opposition letter that was given to staff an hour before the meeting. With that said, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission motion for approval of minor general plan amendment, case number GPA 24-03, and then again vote for approval of the rezone zoning map amendment case number PAD 23-07. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have. The applicant does have a presentation should you wish to see it.
Thank you. Yeah, let's see the applicant's presentation and then we'll go to public hearing.
Oh, thank you. All right, good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Commission. My name is Julie Vermillion with the applicant CVL Consultants located at 4550 North 12th Street in Phoenix. With me this evening is Mr. Scott Cole, the property owner, who will also be available to answer any questions you might have. All right, thank you for hearing our case this evening, and thank you to Derek for that thorough presentation. I really appreciate it. So he was very thorough, so I'll just give you a few key points here. So he already addressed the location of the site. This is just a development map, so you can see our site within the context of the current approved PADs in the area. You can see adjacent to us directly to the west is the Hartman Trails development. That was recently updated, and we have made some design accommodations to work with their development. You can also see in the pastels to the northeast of our site and to the direct south, that's the existing Hartman Ranch. So this will be a portion of that existing Hartman Ranch development. This is just a quick overview of the City of Maricopa development process, which I believe we all know, but I just wanted to point out that we are in the zoning process. Next will be a preliminary plan review, final plan review, and building review. So this is our first stop. So all of our plans are conceptual and subject to preliminary and final engineering. So we'll be refining these design documents that I'm showing you this evening as we move through the process. So here's a map of that existing general plan that Derek showed. You could just see that small commercial piece on the southwest corner. This does not align with the approved Hartman Ranch PAD plan. We believe that it was just a mapping error on the general plan GIS itself. That's our belief, since it doesn't align with the existing zoning. And we're just proposing MPC to create an overall cohesive designation. That existing zoning, as Derek mentioned, is CR3 PAD as part of the existing Hartman Ranch PAD. And we're proposing to modify this blue area, which is the amendment area with this case. And we will be maintaining the original intent for single-family residential use. So we will be maintaining that single-family residential across the balance of the site here. So this is a quick look at our site plan that Derek showed. I'll just point out that we do align with the existing alignment of Anderson Road that was approved with the original PAD. And we did add connectivity to Hartman Trails to the west to make sure that works with their preliminary plat, and access points to the original Hartman Ranch parcels. So you can see those arrows there, which will be highlighted on the circulation plan further in this presentation. We also have that centrally located park area and open space corridors that we'll utilize for pedestrian trails. And here's that circulation plan with those access points highlighted in orange. So you can see we're maintaining access to the surrounding parcels, as well as improvements on Steen Road up to the property line. Here are the street sections for those roadways. Here's a copy of the wall and entry sign elevations. You can see it's going to be, we're going to have some stone accent columns and partial and full view fencing. They will be softened with landscaping, and it will be a cohesive theme across the whole development. Here's that proposed wall and sign plan. You can see the location of those entry monuments called out, along with the typical idea for where the fencing is going to be. We won't be fencing along the perimeter or creating any sort of fortress. It's going to be around the lots for privacy. So you can see those walls are outlining the lots directly. And I just wanted to touch on a few benefits of this proposal. We'll be having that centrally located park space with amenities to be determined with the preliminary landscape plans during the next stage of development, along with new infrastructure improvements on Steen Road across the frontage of the site and Anderson Road, including a landscape streetscape with trails or sidewalk, And then, of course, we'll be contributing for turn lanes, traffic signalization, or anything else that's going to be warranted by analysis and approved by the city engineer. So we believe that this update is much needed for the PAD that was approved in the early 2000s to modernize it to reflect the current development pattern and market demand for certain housing products in the area. And we will provide a variety of product options that will support this growing area of Maricopa. So I'm available for any questions that you might have, as well as the property owner.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so I will open up the public hearing. I do not have a speaker card on this particular item. So if there's anybody in the audience that would like to come forward and speak on this item, feel free to come forward. Okay.
Hi, I'm Mary Hartman, daughter-in-law to Shirley Anna McD. Hartman, who are the landowners of Hartman, the Hartman parcel. We had a few things that we wanted to bring up regarding this, a few concerns and requests that they had. One of them is the eastern border access. The eastern border of the subject property is currently a drainage ditch, and we request that this area be designated as a road or legal access point to the homestead property, so that they can get to the homestead through there. This request should be feasible as MSIDD holds an easement along the east side of the parcel. We believe this would effectively reactivate a previously used access route, which was historically maintained by removing weeds, rocks, and concrete. Another item that they wanted to talk about was a domestic well protection. They have been there for probably 64 years or something, and or 50, I don't know, long time. Domestic well protection. The homestead is currently supplied by a domestic well located on the Coal 193 LLC property. We request written confirmation that neither the current owner, Scott Cole, nor any future buyer will interfere with or cut off access to this water source, because they don't intend on moving and they need that well for their home. It's a residential domestic well. MSIDD, the third item is MSIDD irrigation easement. There's an existing underground pipeline that supplies irrigation water to the homestead. It is essential that this infrastructure remain intact and undisturbed. We also request that the development map be updated to reflect the existing MSIDD easement accurately. So some of the land around there is still going to be farmland, and it'll be used for that. And so we need to have, and then MSIDD does have that easement already. Western entrance access, we request the continued use of the existing entrance to the homestead property from the west, as it has been historically used. And then Anderson Road, Peters and Knoll access. The access point at Anderson Road and Peters and Knoll, which is the south part, this is how they get into their property now, should remain private until a formal agreement is reached between Shirley Anna McD. Hartman and the developer. And the last thing that they wanted to bring up was, this is what they had put: we respectfully request that no two-story homes be constructed directly next to the homestead property line, in addition to the proposed drainage, to preserve privacy and visual compatibility. So they want to keep living there, even though they're going to have development around them. So these are the things that they would like. Good.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to come forward and speak on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, questions, comments, concerns? Commissioner Robertson.
Why do I always have to start? This is probably a question for staff or maybe legal. The letter and the items that Ms. Hartman presented, it's not really a letter of opposition, it's a letter of considerations that they would like. Is this appropriate to be considered at this point in the process?
Before we weigh in, Derek had mentioned that there may be some consensus. Julie, I don't know if you want to weigh in on anything first?
Commissioner, so I'm Scott Cole, the owner of the parcel you're looking at, subject of the hearing today. I first became aware or received this letter from the Hartmans approximately an hour before the meeting while I was in the traffic jam coming to the meeting. So I've had a chance to read it, but it's relatively new to me. So then before the meeting, I've been talking to the Hartman family and seeing how we get through this. Several of the things are things we've agreed on from 17 years ago when together we zoned the whole 600 acres and I bought a portion of it, and there's a lot of history there. So I could go through the items one by one, but I guess I'll try to skip to the finish line. And I'm not trying to speak for the Hartmans, but I'm just trying to the best I can, relay the back and forth we've had in, the last half hour, which isn't a whole lot of time. But it'd be my desire to try to get through this hearing, perhaps with some stipulations, like you have before you the list. I'm certainly willing to work in good faith to resolve the things. Some of them are already things we've talked about for 17 years. A couple of them are new. And I'd like to keep the train moving, assuming that you all would otherwise approve the plan. I believe they're desiring, even though it might not be in their letter, and I'm not obviously speaking for them, but I think they'd rather have a continuance to get this resolved. In my perfect world, this would move forward and we'd hear from you what you think of the plan. Obviously, I want to resolve all these issues because they're both, some of them we've talked about before, and some of them are reasonable, some of them may create some headaches for me, but we can work that out. So this is kind of new to me. I've never really had opposition at a planning commission or zoning meeting before here and other places. So if we could move forward and get your thoughts and get a preliminary or an approval subject to working out the Hartman's concerns, that'd be the best thing from my perspective and keep the train on schedule. But I think, not for you, Mary, but I think they'd prefer a continuance. So that's kind of where we are. And so I both want to get the issues resolved, but also to keep the train moving.
Yep.
So I guess I would ask that we could figure out a way, if you approve it just based on the submittal, that there's some stipulation that we would work this out with the Hartmans before council. I think their preference is to have a continuance. that's where we are. So I guess I would ask, can we go through the hearing and determine whether you're in favor of the plan or not? And if so, I'd be agreeable to a stipulation to meet with the Hartmans and work through these issues prior to council.
Thank you. I guess that's what I wanted to hear. The other question I have is the current status, probably for the developer, or maybe Derek. The current status of the land includes some commercial breakout. Is that correct? As it stands today?
Commissioner Robinson, yes. On the map you see right here, on the right-hand side, which is that southern side, where it says NAP zone CB2 PAD, and the other top right corner, TR, those can be developed as commercial.
Okay. But if we go to the PAD designation, commercial is then only allowed, not mandated. Is that correct? Here's where I want to go. I don't want to lose commercial aspect to this regional area. I know some of it's not even in this plan, but it looks like some of it spills over into this property. And does that spillover commercial go away if we approve this plan?
No, it does not. If
Okay.
you see on the zoning exhibit before you, where it says CPAD commercial, that is the commercial area of this PAD. That is what is zoned for commercial right now. The section under consideration by the commission was always for single-family residential.
Right.
Never for commercial. There may have been a scrivener's error. We weren't quite sure how the general plan map had that commercial dipping into the site.
Exactly.
In an abundance of caution, we're bringing that as a minor amendment to change that, do a resolution so that it is absolutely put in should the commission and the council vote for approval on this, that it becomes MPC, master plan community, without that little commercial that we can't figure out exactly where that came from.
Okay. My concern was that PAD has so much flexibility that we say, yeah, there's commercial in it now, but it has so much flexibility that they come back and later and they say, we're weeding out that commercial piece.
That is something staff discussed when this application came before us. With the original PAD, the different land uses are required. So should an amendment come in for the existing Hartman Ranch PAD
to come back,
retained by the Hartman family,
okay,
we would impose that it has to have that commercial because all of this is operating as one unit. You may have different property owners, different developers, but for zoning and the land uses that were agreed upon originally, we need those maintained.
Yeah. Okay. We're not talking about a Walmart, but neighborhood commercial as these areas grow becomes pretty important to have some neighborhood commercial. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, or Commissioner. Did it again. Yeah, so one thing to just keep in mind for 5.2, it is a minor general plan amendment. So we're not necessarily talking about the PAD just yet. It's just that little piece of commercial that got in there that we're looking to designate to master plan community. Commissioners, any other comments? So I do have a question for legal. The idea of continuing was brought up, but I think that's more about the the next item versus GPA 24-03. I just want to confirm this item could go forward and then we can revisit, or then we go to the next item that could potentially be continued if the applicant is so willing.
Yeah, Chair Singleton, that's correct. These items don't have to go together. You can approve one, continue one, approve both. You can you can treat them separately. They'll require separate, just like the public hearing, separate motions, second vote. But yeah, right now we're just considering the GPA amendment.
Thank you. With that being said, any final questions, comments on GPA 24-03 from the commission? If not, I will entertain a motion. I have a motion to approve by the vice chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Clubb. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion passes. That'll take us to item 5.3, PAD 24-07. This is a public hearing. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall discuss and take action on a request for a zoning map amendment on approximately 193 acres, effectively rezoning the site from the Hartman Ranch Planned Area Development CR-3 Single Family Residential to the Hartman Ranch Planned Area Development. The site is generally located at the southeast corner of West Dean Road and North Anderson Road. This is for discussion and action. Derek, same presentation as before, I'm guessing?
Yes, Chairman, same
Okay.
presentation.
Perfect.
Have the IT people bring it up, and I can present it again.
Don't think that's necessary at this moment. This is a public hearing. I did have one speaker card for this, but I think she talked before.
Excuse me, question. Just fine.
Perfect. Okay. Commissioner Clubb.
Quick question for staff, Derek. As it relates to, because we've already talked about the comments that were in the letter regarding some easements and wells and so on. Do we have a document that shows any of that we can see?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
The easements would be on the ALTA map for the MSIDD. With developments, if there is an MSIDD development, that is fine on an ALTA. It's when you get to the development stage, if there's roads, houses, any drainage going over, across, next to, that's when staff really zeroes in on it and says, okay, we may have to make some modifications, we may have some issues here. But for a lot of the other stuff, no. On staff's perspective of it, it's private civil matters between two private parties. With those agreements, it's not a municipal matter, except for the one about the Anderson Road, which Anderson Road is a section line road that was created back in the 1920s by the Board of Supervisors as a section line. So it is a public right-of-way, and it would not be a private road.
Okay. And then I had some questions regarding the lot design that's shown, and I realize that it's kind of fluid. My first question is, how much has that changed from the original PAD as far as lot sizes and product mix?
Chairman Singleton, Commissioner Clubb, it has not changed very much. The spine road with Anderson Road has always been roughly in this shape and in this location. The change from RS3 to CR3 to the RS5, are actually seeing some larger lots being proposed with the 50 by 120s. But generally, this PAD amendment is really bringing it into the current zoning ordinance compared to the old one. There hasn't been an increase in the number of units for the densities and everything like that.
Okay. Now, under this PAD, we have a max of 826 lots. With that in mind, if they were to go to Z lots, zero lot lines, things like that, would they be able to increase that number? Or does that stay the max?
Chairman Singleton, Commissioner Clubb, they can always request, absolutely. We can get an application the day after to say this were theoretically approved. We can get the very next day an application changing the whole thing. We had analyzed that change as it came in. So maybe it will, but maybe it won't. We don't know. I can't prognosticate on that. What we do have here is the 826 lots for this section of the PAD, which is the new Hartman Ranch PAD. The remaining portions, those will stay intact with those numbers intact.
So And I understand we have essentially a 10% rule that they can modify things by 10%. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
Without coming back through a public hearing process?
through a public hearing. But then it also, they could request it, but that doesn't mean it would be approved. Staff would analyze the requests as they come in, compare them to the ordinance, compare them to code, compare them to the general plan. And if the staff did not feel that it was in compliance or conformance with those, then we would deny it at the administrative level, or at the pre-app level, we would advise that this was very likely not to be approved as proposed.
Yeah, because my concern with these creative lot design, as we get into Z lots and the motor courts and zero lot lines and so on, is in most communities, we typically see them in the commercial zones, nearby, getting higher density, higher lot count mix, near employment centers and so on. This is for the foreseeable future of Maricopa. I mean, this is still relatively rural, and to be bringing in some of those higher density designs, kind of so far out, I think for me it's a little bit problematic. Again, it's not being proposed today, so it's but changing that lot mix is I think could be a challenge there. That's all I had. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions before I open it up for public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing, so if there is anybody in the crowd that would like to come up and speak on this item, please come forward. Oh. Yeah. And then please state your name.
Jocelyn Scott's daughter-in-law to the Hartmans. Thank you for hearing us tonight. We do have some concerns about what is being proposed. We have not come to an agreement. All family members are not present tonight, and so this was kind of a get-together and try to figure this out. So we would like to request a continuance so that we can get together with everybody. There has been quite a bit of history, from what I understand, with Mr. Cole and the Hartmans, and so there is going to be some back and forth that we're going to need to have. We're going to need to have some legal representation to make sure that the Hartmans' wishes are worked through and honored, and we can all come to an amicable agreement on that. So that as a family, we are asking that we go ahead and continue, and to give us that time to be able to find an attorney to represent the family's wishes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the crowd that would like to come forward and speak on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Back to you, commissioners. Any questions or final comments on this item? Vice Chair.
My question is for Nick. Being that we received this letter right before the meeting, and then it appears there's still some issues that both parties want to work out here, can we move this to a continuance?
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman Juarez, you have every right to make a motion to continue, second, and if it's approved, you can continue to the next meeting. Nothing stopping that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Robertson.
I think I heard from Mr. Cole and the Hartmans that there is a willingness to consider their request in their letter. Like I said, it doesn't sound like an opposition letter. It sounds like, some conditions and things they'd like to make sure are protect their investment in their property. With that said, I'd be in favor of a continuance.
Any other comments, questions, comments, concerns from commissioners? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to continue.
I have a motion to continue by Commissioner Robertson. Do I have a second? I have
Mr. Chair, if I might, is it being continued to a certain meeting? For example, the first meeting in July, the second, Rick, do you have your schedule?
I'll amend my motion to continue to the first meeting in September.
Okay, I have a motion to continue this until the first meeting in September. Do I have a second on that motion?
Can I make a comment first before we vote?
Yes.
Okay, if there's a possibility that all the issues get resolved prior to that September date, can we amend this motion, or can someone bring it to our attention? We have further discussion on this end.
You could also, it's a great question, it could be amended. You could just do motion to continue until, staff feel that sufficient time as, negotiations have gone through, so staff can put it back on the agenda.
Okay, I will amend my motion again. A motion to reflect that we continue this until staff informs us that the parties are ready to address the issue. Or something like that.
I have a motion to continue.
I'll second.
I have a second by Vice Chair. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That will continue. That takes us to item 6, reports from commission and/or staff. Take away, Rick.
Chairman, thank you very much. Commissioners, next meeting will be held on July 14th. We don't have anything going until then. What I would say is have a safe and happy 4th of July. Try and get out of the heat, get home safely, and we'll see you on the 14th of July. That concludes.
Thank you, Rick. I was informed that there is a comment from the commission. Commissioner Robertson.
We don't talk during this session very often, but I do have a question for staff about our policy and procedure. Sometimes we get out of our lane into the weeds a little bit, and we did that at the last meeting, and staff attorney brought us back. But after I thought about it, the items that I raised that might have been out of the weeds were a direct result of testimony by the applicant. So once an applicant brings up a topic, if it's a little bit out of our line, what do? Are we allowed to comment on that particular subject that they brought up or topic, or do we have to get back in our lane?
Yeah, I've been volunteered. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Robertson, I don't want to go too far just because this type of is not agendized for this. I think we can put an agenda item in the future to talk about the roles, responsibilities, discussion topics for the commission at various stages of planning and zoning. But happy to discuss with you after the meeting. I did.
Okay. One way or the other, we need clarification, whether it's in an executive session or in a public meeting. It was profound to me last meeting that we were stifled from commenting on an element of the presentation that was brought to us. Okay. So whether we want to put that on agenda or however we want to work it, I don't care, but we need clarification.
I would agree with that.
I'll work with Rick to get an agenda item, whether it's executive session or a work session, maybe some type of,
Okay.
so where we can discuss it.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other comments from commissioners? All right. I do not see a reason for e-session. So that'll take us to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We are adjourned.